So, you think you're smart? Let me stop you right there, because intelligence isn't just about scoring high on an exam, throwing around big words, or flexing in arguments. In fact, some of the people who believe they're the sharpest in the room are actually walking around blind to their own mistakes. And here's the savage truth, the moment you assume you've made it, that's usually the first sign you haven't. Think about it. Have you ever dismissed advice because you thought you already knew better? Have you ever clung to an opinion just to protect your ego? That's not brilliance. That's insecurity wearing a mask. And if you're nodding along right now thinking, well, that's not me, it probably is you. Stick with me, because over the next few minutes, I'm going to rip apart 5 subtle but deadly signs that prove you might not be as smart as you think, and why ignoring them could be holding you back from real growth. Here's the problem, most people confuse confidence with intelligence. You keep walking around thinking that being quick with words, shutting people down in debates, or dropping random facts makes you the smartest in the room. But let me be blunt, intelligence isn't about who talks the loudest or who seems right in the moment. It's about how you think, how you adapt, and how you learn when the world proves you wrong. And here's where it gets dangerous. The smarter you believe you are, the less likely you are to question yourself. That's how blind spots form. That's how you stay stuck. Meanwhile, the people you dismiss, the quiet ones taking notes, observing patterns, asking questions, they are the ones who actually level up. This matters more today than ever. We live in a world drowning in information but starving for wisdom. Everyone's pretending to know it all, but very few are humble enough to admit when they are wrong or curious enough to keep learning. That's the real edge. So in this video, I'm not here to stroke your ego. I'm here to tear it down and rebuild it stronger. I'll break down 5 brutal signs that you might not be as smart as you think. But here's the twist, each sign also comes with a way to flip it into strength. By the end, you won't just spot your blind spots, you'll know how to destroy them. Sign: you always need to be right. Let's get real, you hate being wrong. The moment someone challenges you, your defense mode kicks in. You argue harder, raise your voice, or drown the other person in so-called logic. You treat every conversation like a boxing match you must win. Sounds familiar? That's not intelligence, that's insecurity. I'll tell you something from my own life. Years ago, I was the guy who always had a comeback. No matter the topic, I had to prove I was right. But all it did was push people away and make me look stubborn. I wasn't learning, I was just performing. The wake-up call came when a mentor told me, if you're always right, you're never growing. That hit hard. And studies back this up. Psychologists call it the illusion of superiority. Most people overestimate their intelligence and underestimate others. The smartest people in the room? They are usually the ones asking questions, not handing out speeches. Next time someone proves you wrong, don't argue, thank them. Literally say, I didn't see it that way, thanks for pointing it out. That small shift doesn't make you look weak, it makes you look unstoppable. Because real intelligence isn't about winning arguments. It's about expanding your perspective. Sign: you confuse knowledge with wisdom. Here's the trap. You read a few books, binge some podcasts, maybe even memorize a couple of statistics, and suddenly you think you've cracked life's code. You drop quotes in conversations like confetti, and sure, it impresses people for 5 seconds. But let me ask you, what have you actually applied? Because information without action is just mental clutter. I'll be honest, I fell into this exact trap. I was devouring self-help books back to back, highlighting every other sentence, and proudly calling myself well-read. But my life wasn't changing. Why? Because I was collecting knowledge like trophies on a shelf, shiny but useless. The turning point came when I forced myself to pick one idea and actually live it for 30 days. That one shift taught me more than 10 books ever did. Research proves it too. Studies on learning show that active practice, trial, error, reflection, beats passive reading every single time. The difference between the know-it-all and the truly intelligent. One talks, the other transforms. Stop chasing the next book, video, or podcast until you've implemented one lesson from the last one. Knowledge impresses people, but wisdom changes your reality. Sign: you look down on simple people. Here's a harsh truth. If you secretly believe you're smarter than most people around you, that's not a sign of intelligence. That's arrogance dressed up as self-belief. And the irony? The moment you start underestimating people, you cut yourself off from learning some of life's most valuable lessons. I'll give you a real example. I once dismissed a coworker because he didn't have a degree and didn't speak as polished as others. I thought, what could I possibly learn from him? Then one day, while we were stuck on a project problem, he casually suggested a fix that none of us with our fancy education had thought of. His idea saved the entire deadline. That day, I realized intelligence isn't about credentials, it's about insight. And science agrees. According to multiple studies on social intelligence, people who assume they are smarter than others often miss cues, ignore feedback, and end up less effective in real-world problem solving. Meanwhile, the ones they look down on? They are quietly building networks, skills, and resilience. Next time you're tempted to dismiss someone as less smart, stop. Ask them a question. Listen. The lesson you resist is often the one you need the most. Sign, you never change your mind if you cling to your opinions like they're sacred texts. Here's the reality, you're not being smart, you're being rigid. True intelligence isn't about locking onto a belief and defending it until death. It's about updating your thinking when new evidence shows up. Stubbornness might feel like strength, but it's actually a weakness in disguise. I've been guilty of this too. I once argued for months about a business strategy one thought was bulletproof. Every time someone suggested a different approach, I brushed it off. Guess what? The project tanked. Later, I realized I wasn't protecting the idea, I was protecting my ego. That was a costly mistake. Experts call this the confirmation bias, our tendency to seek information that proves us right and ignore anything that proves us wrong. The smartest minds in history? They thrived because they changed their minds. Einstein rewrote physics. Darwin rewrote biology. The real breakthrough thinkers weren't stubborn, they were adaptable. Practice saying this phrase out loud, I might be wrong. Not once, not sarcastically, make it a habit. Because when you free yourself from always being right, you open the door to actually becoming wiser. So here's the split, most people will keep walking around with blind confidence, mistaking stubbornness for strength and arrogance for intelligence. They'll double down on bad habits, dismiss anyone who challenges them, and stay stuck in the same cycle. That's the wrong path. But you've just been handed the mirror. You see the traps for what they are, the need to always be right, the obsession with knowledge without action, the arrogance toward others, and the fear of changing your mind. And now you get to choose. Here's the savage truth, being smart isn't about knowing more, it's about learning faster. Most people would rather protect their ego than upgrade their mind. Don't be most people. Because the difference between pretending to be intelligent and actually becoming intelligent is just one thing, humility. And the second you embrace that, you win. So remember, the real signs of intelligence aren't in how loudly you argue or how much trivia you can spit out. They're in how open you are to being wrong, how willing you are to apply what you know, how much respect you show others, and how quickly you can shift your perspective when reality demands it. That's the difference between looking smart and actually being smart. And let's circle back to the beginning. You thought you had it all figured out. But the truth is, the smartest people in the room never stop questioning themselves. So here's my challenge, which of these signs hit you hardest, and what are you going to do about it? Now it's your turn. Out of the 5 signs we just went through, which one stung the most? Was it the need to always be right, the habit of collecting knowledge without applying it, the arrogance of looking down on others, or the refusal to change your mind? Drop your answer in the comments. I want to see how many of you are honest enough to call yourself out. And if this video hit you harder than expected, that's a good thing. Growth never feels comfortable. But if you want more raw, no fluff breakdowns like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next one. Here's my savage sign off. Pretending to be smart might impress people for a moment, but actually becoming smart will change your entire life. So stop faking it. Start fixing it.